Hi, I'm Thomas Bowles, Prince William County Agricultural Extension Agent. Welcome to our video.
So my name's Doug Burrows. I've owned the flower shop, the flower gallery, since 1976. I was lucky enough to buy it straight out of high school. I graduated from Woodson High School in 1975, and I bought it 45 years ago with my wife. And it's a family business, and we love it. And we would love for you to come to Bull Run Shopping Center to see us. We got a new Giant, we got a new Party City, we're in between the Ross store, we're in between Dick's Sporting Goods, we got a new Marshalls, so you can do all your Christmas shopping starting here with wrap and cards and flowers and gifts, and then you can go to all the other great stores walking around. Thanks for your time tonight.
Okay.
I want to thank you all so much for asking me to do this demonstration tonight, and I am super stoked, so let's get started. First thing I want to just do, without talking down to anybody, because I know you all know a lot of stuff, I want to start by just going over conditioning flowers because it's so important. So you want to get a clean bucket. Everything has to be super clean all the time. You know, little Clorox wouldn't hurt. Wash it out, fill it with warm water, put your Floor Life in it. If you don't have Floor Life, go ahead and put your, a little bit of Clorox, a couple drops of that in there. It keeps the bacteria from growing, and that's what we want to control all the time is bacteria. So you start with like a bunch of carnations that just came in this morning, and you get them conditioned. So you, of course, remove the paper. You cut a couple inches or break a couple inches off the bottom. And then you quickly, before they close, peel off any greens that are going to be below the water line. Almost like shucking corn. You just pull everything off that's going to be below the water line, and that way you will control the bacteria from the beginning to the end. You would do the same with the Ostomeria. Anything, cut or break the stems. And this is a flower that looks like it's dead, and by tomorrow it will be gorgeous. Pull all your foliage off that's going to be in the water, put it in your nice warm water, and by tomorrow you will have great color and beautiful flowers. And lastly, the same with your miniature carnations. Cut or break. Take the paper off of whatever they came wrapped in. Or if they're from your garden, you would just remove the greens from the bottom. It's very simple, but it really makes a huge difference in the life of your flowers. White mini carnations and white carnations are one of my favorites because they always smell like flowers. Put them in the bucket, and by tomorrow we'll have nice full blossoms. So tonight we're going to focus mostly on Thanksgiving, and we're going to work with different materials that it's just a principle of, and then with this you could do whatever you want to do. You could do Christmas, you could do every day, you could do Hanukkah. There's no limit to what you can do with the same materials or slightly different materials. So I'm going to start with a very traditional cornucopia. Many of us have these. It's time to bring them out and use them. I started with a full block of Oasis because I'm using some fairly big stems and I don't want it to fall apart. I dropped it into a bucket of warm water and let it soak up slowly. It takes a long time for it to drink now. I don't know what they've done to Oasis, but it takes 20 minutes for it to get all of the dryness and all the air pockets out. Then I'm going to start with the length on my arrangement. And I'm going to start with the width on my arrangement. I'm just using the leather leaf or baker fern. It's the same thing, different names. And then I'm going to start with the width over here. And then I'm going to work on my height. And then I'm going to determine, is this the right size for my table? Is it too long? Is it too wide? Is it too tall? Can I comfortably see over it? You know, so it's under 12 inches, which is the tallest you can comfortably see over. If you don't think it's right, you break or cut the stems so it gets to where you want it to be. You don't pull it out and put it back in unless there's absolutely no choice. If it's too short, which now it is, I'm going to put another piece right over the top to get my length the right way. I'm going to take a few more pieces, I'm going to create stems, and I'm going to work those in like that. I'm going to try to use all the different baker up. I'm putting it at a slight angle, kind of pretending like it's going towards the middle, even though the stems aren't long enough for it to. But it covers much better, and you use less materials. And materials certainly are important because they cost you money, even if they're, if something as inexpensive as fern. But also, you want to save as much room in your oasis for your flowers or whatever else you're going to use. So I try to do it so that you can see very little to none of the oasis. Create those stems. You don't want these little pieces jammed in your oasis. They break down to bacteria quickly and kill your flowers. So let's put a little lemon leaf in there too. Gives it a great texture, a variety of color. And think of the greens you could use. It's fall winter. So you could use your pines, you could use your hollies, you could use a lot of different things right in your yard to do this with. You don't have to go out and spend money. It would be nice if you did though. All right, next we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put a little bit of dried material in. Again, it's stuff you probably have. This is hydrangea that has, almost completely dried, seed hydrangea. I'm going to work some of that in as a base. It gives a lot of texture. It gives it, some light shade of color. And I think I'll wait and put the dried dock in till last so that I don't break it up too much while I'm working with it. There are three types of flowers that you would like to use in as many arrangements as you could. There's your line flower, which is things like this seed head hydrangea or this solidago aster. They form a line and bring your eye in and out of the arrangement and cause motion. Then there's your mass flowers, things that add weight to the arrangement, much like this spider mum would do. It adds weight, it adds substance. And then there's fillers, like these would be good for a weighted flower, a mass flower. Then there's your little filler flowers that make things more interesting and give you depth and a variation in color. I like to do my lines first, and this would be my first line, this would be my second line. You don't have to use more than one. Snapdragons, gladiolas, stock, they're all great line flowers. They cause your eye to go in and out of the arrangement. They get movement going right away. Let me just show you on that real quick too, because I know you all have done this and you're good at it, but I break my flowers at the joints so that I get twice as much out of them when I can. Or cut it if it's easier. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our spider mums in because they're our biggest flower and they'll be the hardest one to work around. Always pull anything off that's going to get close to that oasis. Give it a good push. And that will add to the weight of your arrangement and give you some instant style. Now, if you're timid about where to cut or break these things, pull your arrangement to the edge of your design table or wherever you're working. Hold your stem to where you want it to go and break or cut the stem. What you're doing is you're opening up the pores right before you push it in. If you prefer to cut, that's great. Measuring really does help. A big block of oasis like I used really helps. And now we're going to move on to some filler flowers, like these great mums. And what I'm going to do is start removing some of them from the bottom and give them a break at the bottom, like this again, because this little nodule will just break up your oasis. I know you can't see that, trust me. work that in. And it's a filler flower, so you're just filling in, trying to get it, dispersed in different areas so that everybody sees some kind of beauty. Use the next little filler flower. Again, try not to put it in and take it out. You will get Swiss cheese and it will make a difference in the overall arrangement, like when you go to take it off for dessert or whatever and the whole thing falls apart in the middle of your table. So I used the smaller ones in close and I kept the longer ones for where I needed that extra stem length. I'm going to take a minute too and just show you how to use like fruit and vegetables. If I can find my green sticks, this is where all the professional fumbling always comes in. So there's sticks that you can buy at the store, and this works very well with apples, lemons at Christmas, as well as pumpkins, gourds at the at the Thanksgiving fall holidays. You want to push it in where you want it to go, and what happens is it's starting to swell on the stick, so it won't come out easily. And then you push it into the oasis, and the same thing happens there. It starts swelling on the stick, so it won't come out easy. Just gives you a little, design element that if you have like really boring guests, something to talk about, which is always nice. Family. Can't talk about anything anymore, right? God knows we're not even going to talk about putting a pair of pilgrims on here. What it is, it's Thanksgiving. All right, next we're going to go ahead and use some confetti roses because we want it to look particularly special because our family and friends are special. This is, again, though, a unique design element because it's a bicolor rose. It's called Circus. It's a very pretty rose. It opens very pretty. It's a great conversation piece when everybody, again, doesn't have anything to talk about because everything's so controversial. All right. With your roses too, you may have to take a packing petal off of them once in a while. There you go. Didn't pay the electric bill again. All right. So that kind of gives you that look. Then take your dock, which is from, a little farm in Nokesville. It's a weed, and kind of work that in there. And I think it gives you a great design element. But there's thistles out there. There's seed pods. There's all kinds of things that you can go gather up. I mean, talk to your neighbors. Say, is it okay if I, cut that hedge down and turn it into 20 or 30 arrangements for people? Use your creativity, and there's all kinds of nature out there for people to, to enjoy inside that will last now or at Christmas time or whenever you feel like decorating. All right. So that might be what your cornucopia looks like. Hopefully it's something that you could use on your table. Hopefully it's something that, you could do a smaller one and give it to somebody that, might be really down in the dumps and make their day. And the cornucopia is reusable. All you have to do is just keep adding water to it and it should last 2 weeks. We're going to do just a series, like a tablescape. So I want to make a bunch of little arrangements of just random things that I found to try to inspire you to get rid of some of the junk that you have and make it into something that maybe really will delight people. So I'm going to start with a simple clay pot. I found a liner that doesn't go with it, but it works. I taped or glued, if you tape, you want to use first aid tape, or I glued in my oasis. I put it in my warm water with my Floralife, and I let it drink slowly, gave it a good 20 minutes. I made sure in this case there was a 1/2 inch to 1 inch above the lip of the container, and you'll see why in a minute. And then I start with my greens, and and I aim everything towards the middle, and I gradually let it fall over the side just a little bit. And I'm going to keep this tight because I'm going to do this little story and put it on the table and do something super interesting, hopefully, and something that would definitely lead to positive conversation and definitely make people feel welcome and loved at your table, because it will take you a little while to do this. So even if you don't cook, if the centerpiece is beautiful, it doesn't really matter because they'll still feel loved. So if dinner's not so good and your flowers are beautiful, you're still gonna win on this one. This is again that lemon, it's that lime color, it's a different texture. I think it'll work really well. But think of leaves and things that you have around your house or in the common areas of where you might live that you pay homeowner fees for. So I'm sure they wouldn't mind you taking a few little texturous things, whether it be pines or bamboo or whatever you might have out by a golf course somewhere, and you're walking at night and you randomly snip just a few things to go home and make the story work. So in this case, I'm just going to do some quick little pots in my pre-soaked oasis. And I'm going to do it like I did the other. I'm going to do my little line. I'll use my Solidago aster as my line, bringing your eye in and out of the arrangement. And then I'm going to start with my little mums, because I don't want anything to be big, so I'm not going to do necessarily a big mass flower. I am going to give you something that'll be real texturous and hopefully draw your eye to it the way a mass flower does. I'm just going to randomly start putting those in there, being respectful of going all the way around, so no matter who sits on what side of the table, it still looks beautiful. When you do things with mums and some of the other materials we're using, you can bank on them lasting 2 weeks if you buy them fresh. One way of knowing if things are fresh or not is when you're in the store, crack the stem. If you hear the snap, you know it's fresh. I encourage you to do that here. It's just a sign that you know what you're doing, and that's a good thing. I encourage you to do it at any of the places that sell flowers that shouldn't be. Like Costco and grocery stores and stuff like that. Just give them a snap. It won't be their fault if they're not fresh. Maybe they set at a grower's, or they set at a plane, or they set whatever. So just give them a snap. If it's rubbery, the flower's old or hasn't been conditioned properly, so you want to make sure that you don't use that particular bunch of flowers. You go to the next one. These little spray roses, these used to be called sweethearts, and the labor to deadhead them down to one a stem was so expensive that now they sell the whole stem for the same price. It's kind of a good deal. You take those little packing petals off, which is the most time-consuming part. I love this color. It's going to give you a whole lot of life really fast, a whole lot of interest. Pop those in there. Just like that. A little of the dock still hanging out, so we can work a little of that in. Again, just to kind of remind you of the stuff that really is right out there in a field that you can work with. I always take my things when I dry them or when I take them from a field, though, and I do hang them upside down in my garage for a while, so that if there's any bugs in them, they do have an opportunity to get out of the flowers. There's nothing particularly great about a dinner party where spiders are climbing across the table, unless it's Halloween. So you might want to just think about doing that. That's true with fresh flowers too. Like if you cut flowers and you have a lot of insects and things in your yard, you can totally submerge them in like a utility sink or a bucket for just a few minutes, and all the bugs and things will go to the top, and then you can skim them off and release them, or you can just pull the plug and let them get released that way. All right, next one I'm going to do is another tall piece. So I picked this birch container, Again, I'm going for a lot of textures. I'm going to do the same thing. I soaked my Oasis really good. I have a way that I can add water to this so that it'll last 2 weeks. I put my greens in by creating stems and just going around the edge, aiming them towards the middle so they gracefully fall over just a little bit. Like this. All right. And again, pine would be beautiful in this at Christmas time, and pine cones, and holly berries, and I mean, there's so much you can do with this. And if you've got things that you're not using in your home, and I think we all probably do, it would always be a good time to get them out and use them, whether it be as a decorative accessory worked into this, or as a container, a sled or something like that. If you happen to get a container like this, or a ceramic piece or something even from us, we glue into it. And what you want to do is you want to take that container and put it in your refrigerator when your flowers die for like an hour or two, and the glue peels right off. If you try scraping it, it seems like it'll never come off. So you can reuse these containers over and over and over again is what the motto of that little story is. All right, so on this one, we're going to just grab another look. But we wanted to kind of tell a story. So it's in the same family, which is fall. Christmas time would be Christmas. Hanukkah would be beautiful blues and whites. And just like before, I'm going to go ahead and start with my mums. I like to start with my line, but I don't see very much of it. So let's put that in, get that motion going. This one I am going to make a little bit bigger. So I wanted to do just a couple of Red Rover mums. They're a larger mum. Wow, it almost didn't snap. Almost had to put it back. Snapping really makes a difference. That's why I like to break. I can test every flower as I'm putting it in for its freshness. Marion, see how great they are? This is the same batch that I just put in water. They've been in water all day, and this is how they turned out. Beautiful. I'm trying to keep it low so everybody can see over it. For so many of us, we haven't seen our family, a long time, and for many of us, we do want to see our family, so we want to make sure that you're not looking through it. If there is a particularly irritating member of your family, and you would like to, still keep things in good taste, you could just put a bigger stem in the middle, and then put that person across from you, and it still gives you that privacy that you need, and they think they're really special because they're behind the biggest centerpiece of the entire centerpiece. But you'll see that when we put them out on the table. All right. Again, I just don't want to take too long on any one piece because I want to get into some glassware and start, showing you how to do a quick vase for this, and really kind of mix the textures up. I want the flowers to have textures, the greens to have textures, and the containers to have textures. And we'll see if that all comes together. All right, so let's get rid of that guy. So let's work on a smaller piece, something like this, which is just a little votive holder. And let's do a simple little arrangement in that. But I don't really want to see my Oasis in this, so I'm going to take some glycerinized leaves and work them in, just to break it up a little bit. Actually, I'm going to do this not in Oasis. I really want a piece of Oasis. Here we go. Oasis just keeps everything in these short containers where you want it to stay, and I think that really is nice too. So I'm just going to put that in there and put some leaves. Now, this will be an arrangement that'll be hopefully really cute on the table, and again, be interesting and texturous, but you will have bacteria growing faster in this than you will anything else because this is below the water line. All right. And on this one, instead of using a lot of greens, although you could again just use it in all greens, I'm just going to take these tiny little marigolds and just do a mass of little marigolds. And again, if you feel more comfortable cutting either with shears or with a knife, feel free to. I just like to break it because I want to hear that snap. All right, so that's kind of that little look. Let's do a little something in burgundy. And matter of fact, instead of green in this one, let's do something totally different as well. Let's just put a little moss on it, if I can find where I put my moss. Well, we'll turn it up after, we'll do the next one with the moss. Let's go ahead and just put the grains in it then so we can finish this look up for us. Do it in burgundies since the container itself is in burgundies. And maybe use a little of this gray protea. The fun thing too is if you're using things that you're not using, you know, like these little containers, these little oddball containers, when your guests leave, you can have everybody leave with an arrangement, even if it's a small arrangement that they just put by their kitchen sink. It's, you know, a nice little gift. It's a great way of getting rid of large collections of stuff that nobody but you wants. Like in my house, I have things that I love, and I have the greatest kid in the world, and he doesn't seem to want anything, not even like a doormat. So I have a fear that when I age badly, there'll be a dumpster in the front yard. I'll be heading one place and everything will be heading towards the dumpster. So if I made these up for the table and handed them over the next 10 or 20 years to people, maybe I'd have less going to the trash, because if it's a gift, I don't think that you can throw it away. I think that's kind of like one of those rules. All right, so that's a little statement in burgundy and an oddball little burgundy pot. The little yellow in the center kind of ties in with some of the other looks. All right. And the next one we'll do is a quick little number in this white pot, just to kind of bring together any dishes you might have so that it looks all custom. And on this one, I think what we'll do is I think we'll put in some of this and maybe one of these for a different look. And the reason we do this is because I want to remind everybody with hydrangea that when you pick your hydrangea from your yard or you get it from a store, the best thing you can do is hammer the ends, cut a little bit off, but you wouldn't have to. Hammer the ends and put it in warm water. But then when you design it in Oasis, you don't hammer it, because if you do, you're just going to really shred that Oasis, and that's not going to do it any favors. So you want to pull off as many of the leaves that you possibly can, which I know is all of them. I mean, you can pull all of them off, but so many people really like them that it makes it a little tough for them to actually do that, because they're so pretty. So, but the more leaves you leave on, the less it's going to live, because the leaves draw as much water and they're very thirsty. So what you're trying to do is eliminate whatever you can going up that stem, and the leaves draw as much as the flower, so you want to do that. I'm just going to pop in this great orange lily. It'll be open by Thanksgiving. I'm going to use some of these hypernicum berries. It's all texture is what I'm trying to do here. Again, this would be really pretty at any of the holidays. I mean, whether it be Christmas with your greens and your reds and your pine cones and all the things that nature has given us, or our neighborhood has. Put a little bit of leaf in there just to cover the base. And now we're going to move into some easier stuff that'll go a little bit quicker. So if you've nodded out on me, now you can wake up, and we're just going to do some cuttings, which are super fun, because if you don't have a big garden to draw from, or you have just some pots that you've grown some stuff in, we can start doing a few things out of that too. So let's just set that out of the way. Like just a simple little bubble bowl. You could take something like that, and you could maybe put a couple of these burgundy leaves in the bottom. Actually, let's do that on that. Let's do a little curly willow in this one. Let's take some curly willow, fresh curly willow, cut it a little bit shorter. I don't know if that's short enough. And just roll it around in there just to give it some texture. Just like that. Like a quick little bird's nest. And then pop it in there. And then you've got something very texturous. And then just take a single flower, maybe one broke, from where you bought it, or from, after you picked it. And just cut the head down to about 1 inch so that it'll drink, and just tuck it in there like that. And the same thing with the square one, only in the square, not square, in this little bit lower dish. Let's go ahead and put the leaves in that one. There's just so much stuff out there that you can gather from, that let your creative juices really flow. And I think you can have a beautiful table. Something like that. Bed of leaves, and then just grab a flower and put that in there. And I did have a dahlia. I really wanted to use that dahlia, so excuse me for 1 second while I grab it. This is a little local dahlia. And just kind of nestle that down in there. Again, it's texturous, but it's kind of in our same color wheel. And then something like this. Again, it's an unusual shape. And I have great green anemones, so it'll pick up from this piece, and some great dusty miller. Fresh water, little bit of bleach, like a capful or less, or Floral Life. And that way your water won't get murky for a couple days, and then change your water several times throughout the 2 weeks that most of this stuff will last, and it'll be beautiful. And I'm just gonna cut these short. These are just awesome. They're different, they're texturous. I'd never actually seen these before. Pull off anything that's gonna be below the water line. Tuck them in. These are pricey. So this, if you want to spend some real money, get anemones. Otherwise, think about some of the different stuff we've done in this piece, and that works too. The great thing, the Dusty Miller is a nice contrast, and also holds everything in place. All right, and then just some quick little bud vases just to kind of scatter around. Let's do with this one with these thistles. Again, so you think about, what you have right there in your own neighborhood that you can go ahead and use. Clean water, clean cut, pop them in. I love that thistle. I think that's just such a pretty color. If you think it needs a leaf, you can certainly add it. If you have leftover berries, a thing or two of those gives it a little fullness without, making it into a flower arrangement. Okay, so this one here has a couple bad leaves on it, so I want to just pull those off. We don't want to have anything that we can fix go out wrong. All right, and the next thing is just weird shaped bud vases. Keep it real simple. Stem of this, stem of that. And mums are really inexpensive. They're $2 a stem. They come with a filler, so you could really get a nice look without, breaking the bank. This little wax flower. Again, it's just the simplest little things I think make it really step up, a little bit more interesting. Maybe a little blue plurum with this. Now you're kind of carrying that fresh green look through, which makes your fall colors really pop. Since we're not working with oasis, you can do whatever. You can take it out, cut it shorter. Just the oasis is once you put it in there, you want to leave it in there. And this little guy here, let's put a stem of lilies and a little solidago, and that will bring your oranges through the whole tablescape. I love this blue plurum. It's one of my favorite fillers. And it grows beautifully around here. All right, and last thing I got is this little number here. And so let's just put something quick in there. Let's do something like this. And I'm missing my moss because, Spanish moss is just a really nice texturous thing that would give it one more element, but I can't seem to find it until now. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of bury that in that. And that way you don't see the oasis, so it doesn't look, as unfinished as if you just put oasis in a clear container. And then in this case, I'm just going to take some random flowers. One more shade of this orange, little mini carnations. Not do any greens until the end, and just do a little mountain of these. All right. I know by now you've probably gone through your third cup of coffee and said, is this table ever going to end? And the answer is yes. So let me just cheat a little by putting some of the solidago in. It covers all very quickly. All right. Great. So I'm even going to let some of the moss hang over the side a little bit too, because I think that that's an interesting little element. Anything that is texturous is very in right now. Anything that gives you an opportunity to lead into a conversation. You could have Aunt Bessie sit down at this particular part of the table and she can start talking about her moss she'd have in her tree in Florida. And you never know where good conversation is going to come from. So the more you put out there, the more it's going to lead. So let's put this together and see what you think of it, okay? One other thing that I did do, because I'm doing a gold band dish, is I took my silver dollar eucalyptus and I hit it with a little bit of gold spray paint. Just a little. It'd be more appropriate, I know, at Christmas, but I just wanted to tie together my dishes with that, so that's why I did that. Paint, like so many things right now, is very hard to come by. Most everything that we need, whether it be a vase or paint or oasis or whatever, is on a boat somewhere, but not in our back room where we need it to be. So if you see it, you should buy it. And then if you don't use it, you should bring it back. Because when you need it, it's probably not going to be available.
What a beautiful variety.
Yeah, aren't they? That's what I thought too.